Yeah.
The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium. All right, we are back and we are live. We have a special show here tonight, or interview, I should say. I like saying show. It's like I got a little song and dance routine planned or whatever. But Les Visible is back. We used to have Les on every week since 2008. Actually, let me play this intro for you, and then he could come in. So hold on there for a minute. I'm going to play this. This goes back to the old days.
Apocalypse is coming. Is rising to view, just like the sun. He's bringing living truth and bringing freedom. And a wake-up call designed for everyone. It might be the very thing you've been longing for. Very last thing on your mind. It could be something that you sent on ahead of you, or it could be something you left behind.
It is time for a weekly visit from our favorite social, political, and metaphysical commentator, Les Visible. He writes several blogs right around the globe that expresses reality as it is seen from beyond that smoky mirror of spin and deception, with a style and candor that cuts deep, separating, as it were, the bone from the marrow. And here at Feet to Fire, we experience the audio edition with the powerful poetic delivery of his written message, with a style that you will love or hate, depending upon your desire to be alive and awaken to the light of truth, or remain asleep in the darkness of delusion. Let us take a trip inside his head, mind, and soul and listen to this week's comments from Les Visible.
Well,
there you go, Les. Bring back some memories here. You've been on this show a million times over the years, 2008 and beyond. So welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Feels like I never left.
Whoops. Yeah. Well, actually, time does do that. It seems that we do things and time goes on and then we look up and go, hey, it was yesterday, but it really wasn't. So you've been through a bunch of stuff with your health injuries and whatnot. I have. You seem to be doing okay. For a while there, it was not looking good, or at least you were pretty hurting. So I take it you have recovered to some degree?
Well, last year was the year from hell.
There was a pause there.
I shan't even go into the details, but suffice to say, as of the beginning of the year, it all ended. It's all over. I haven't had a single difficulty, and otherwise I've had exponential spiritual experiences every single day. I could not be more pleased nor be more affirmed at the presence and existence of God, which is all that's important to me, really. So,
they say God shows up in times of trouble, and it's more obvious in those times, so that people going through things actually experience a more of a intimate relationship. I could agree with that, but the things that are going on in this world. I mean, you're been reading your blogs, your columns. Of course, they're on right on cue. and on spot on and what's going on in the world. If you could kind of summarize, why are things going crazy in the world now? It seems like it. I mean, I'm 62, and all through my life, this seems to be the most craziest, nuttiest, most openly, honestly crazy that I've ever seen it. Why do you think that's going on? What's your take on it?
I tried to go into some detail with that in the Petri dish that I just posted today. But the thing, in my estimate, is that it's all about Mr. Apocalypse. We are in an apocalypse. We are, according to certain yogis and such, in a transition out of the Kali Yuga and into the Dwarpa Yuga, which apparently we're there now, and the Aquarian Age. And as often happens, in order to make an omelet, you have to break eggs. And so what is happening is that all the evil and darkness that has plagued humanity for millennia are being exposed. They're being shown with their pants down. All over the place, they're being caught out of different things. So on the one side, it looks like things are getting worse and worse, and the specter of war and starvation and all kinds of things are on the horizon. But really what's happening is that the whole thing is being cleaned up. I mean, that's my perception of it, that actually fantastically good things are going to happen, with the exception of what might soon happen to California. But other than that, I think we're on the verge of a golden age. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I like that story.
Yeah.
Now, you know, the kind of the way I if somebody asked me how I would phrase it, what I, uh-oh, you froze. You've been freezing here and there, Les, so we'll take it from there. What I would look at is that we're rising in spiritual energy, let's say. But when you get higher, which would mean more pure, which would mean more good, I guess the word would be, more pure energy, the lower energies start to boil, if you will. It's like the old, you've heard the metaphors with the heating up the gold and burning it off in the crucible, making it pure and all this stuff, the impurities burn off. Well, I think that the impurities of hate, jealousy, lust, greed, and all those are literally burning off, you know, and we're watching it unfold before us. And I think
that the bad guys are getting worse. The good guys are getting better. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, right. And the bad guys seem to be getting more honest about their badness.
They think they won.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, that's another thing. I got a little list of stuff here. Do they think they're winning, or are they more desperate because they feel they're losing?
It's both. You see, here's the thing with God, as far as I understand it. No one can speak clearly and concisely to the matter. But as I see it, the devil works for God. So the evil, they hear these tales from the devil, who they serve, who is urging them on and giving them all kinds of BS. But the truth of the matter is, none of what they're being told is true. They're being told what the guy who tells them is being told to tell them. And so they're under this illusion that they can now expose themselves because they got their foot on the neck of humanity, when actually their power is diminishing by the day.
All right, you left off powers were diminishing by the day, and then it froze.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they are being diminished in their power by the day without their being aware of it. You see, there's the perception on the surface that they're getting stronger and stronger. But the reality is that they're becoming weaker and weaker, because everywhere people are waking up, everywhere people are seeing it. You go on YouTube or almost anywhere these days, if YouTube lets it out, and people are talking it up. They're all of them expressing these points of view. In today's Petri dish, I put in some links, and they're amazing as examples of where the common individual, in some cases uncommon individual, are coming from in terms of their understanding and the way they're explaining what's happening. I mean, I am just filled with hope at all this.
Well, it's good. Right now. I'm going to let me stop for a second here and mention that on feedtotofireradio.com, I have chronicled your exploits here. And if they go to feedtotofireradio.com, look off to the left, you'll see About Less Visible. You get this page, and from there, you could get the video appearances, which we will add this one on. Well, you haven't been here since 2005. Unless I messed that up, video-wise. I mean, as a guest. And over here, we have a link to all the stuff that you've done all the way through the years in the show.
God.
So that people, all the way back down to... Actually, we just have an anniversary. It's the June 22nd, 2008 was your first commentary here. So, happy anniversary, us. So I just want to mention people can do that. It's very easy to do. feedtofireradio.com. Just kind of look around to the left. The rest will become obvious to you. And which was the site you made your latest column on? What was it?
Reflections in a Petri dish.
Oh, how did I miss that one on here? That's the one.
It just went up about an hour ago.
Okay. Let me while we're talking here, I'll put that up.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I also want to mention most of the people who listen to this show, I shouldn't say a number of them, let's say, are going to be more traditional Christian. What I like about you, Les, is that you're not like a Unitarian. It's not like that you're trying to embrace all religions. You're looking at God and the ineffable, and if God is God and God is real and God is true.
Break again.
What's that?
Another transmission break. I can't hear you a lot of the time. But
oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm saying that when you, in your religiousness, in your philosophy of God, you're embracing the truth, which manifests itself in many philosophies. So, rather than being a Unitarian, I put you as a Goditarian, so to speak.
Well, strangely, this is all being covered in this latest post. I mentioned that I am not a Christian, but that Jesus Christ is my biggest hero, and this is the truth. And I follow to the letter what he said. But as far as Christianity goes, we have parted ways, except in terms of any real Christian. Times there's been so much corruption, difficult to see.
Yeah, well, I would differentiate between Christianity and the church. If I call myself a Christian, but many churches would not. They would, call me a heretic for my position. So it's really weird when people use labels because of the inaccuracy and the suppositions made by those saying the words. So that's why I appreciate your stuff, is that it fits in because it's true, and your positions on the ineffable is awesome. Many a time I've had tear come to eye reading the stuff because I can feel your depth and love for God.
Oh, I appreciate your saying that, because I'll tell you, my greatest joy in life is being of service. If I could possibly be of service of bringing the light of God's truth into the world in the small way that I personally understand it, then I have fulfilled my mission, because nothing gives me greater joy than to know that I've been useful. Now, I've had a very crooked highway getting to where I am today, but I'm thankful in that I can say most all the things that plagued me through so much of my life have fallen away. I'm literally troubled by almost nothing now, and I can just spend my days in contemplation of the Almighty, and that's just how I like it.
There are those who don't believe in God. The way I look at it, in the past, a lot of people have come up with God and put him in the place where to explain things, like, this the rain and lightning and whatever, and where do we go when we die, and fate and all that. But once humanity got real scientific and arrogant, it's like, well, you know what? We don't need God anymore. We can explain the thunder and lightning and everything, and with some help of robots, we'll be able to live forever. And it to me, it's just amazing how people can be so smart and yet be so, like, I don't want to say dumb, but I don't know how to say it. It's just ignorant, I guess, or oblivious.
It's arrogance as much as anything else. And the thing is, you see, when God is in charge, then you can't be. And if you're in charge, then God isn't. And that's the thing. See, there's no such thing as free will. Free will is only, you can go along with the program or you can rebel. And that's what the fallen angels are all about. I personally agree that the God the atheists don't believe exists. And their beef is with religion, because religion did this and religion did that, and they lay it at God's doorstep. And God has nothing to do with that. He allows everybody the freedom to go with the beauty of his path and follow it, or they can react and rebel. And if they do that, then, well, there you are. Lessons are going to come.
Let me try something here, and I'm going to turn off my video for a minute and see if that helps, provided I can figure out how to do that, because they're constantly updating. What do I do? What if I do this? I don't want to hang up. Turn off video. Okay. Now, maybe that'll help the bandwidth. I know you can't see me, but at least we need to see you more than you seeing me. You can hear me.
Hopefully that will improve the other.
Yeah. So what do you? I'm looking on your site now. I don't know. People can. I'll post a link for this, and they can read this. But give me the short story on California. What do you think's going on here?
Okay. It is my belief that when God wants your attention, He comes and shakes you in the shoulder. And if you don't respond, then He comes back and shakes your shoulder a little harder. And then if you don't respond, He picks up a 2x4. And in California right now, what is going on is horrendous. On Skid Row, they're now having outbreaks of plague and different other things, flesh-eating bacteria. In San Francisco, when they show the map of where people have taken a dump in the street, the entire city of San Francisco is comes about because of disobedience. Nature steps in, and now nature is stepping in and shaking the ground. And if they don't listen, and they won't, is going to shake it harder and harder. And I got very strong feelings about this. I fear that there's going to be a major quake, and fairly soon. And all this is a prelude. It's a preface to, and to let certain people know, oh, maybe I should get out of town for a few days or something. Because sooner or later here now, it's like a perfect storm. Culturally, they're in the toilet. They've got this huge migration problem going on. They're creating sanctuary cities. It's one craziness after another. Meanwhile, all the sexually dysfunctional individuals are running the government. So it's a wild, sybaritic, Caligula-like situation. Oh, well.
Well, a couple of questions there. Do you think that these things are more of a programming? Like, in other words, if activities and energies get to a certain level, then the programming kicks in? Or do you see God monitoring this real time and, like, deciding, that's it, I've held like it stands and I can't stand no more?
Well, see, I think that God already knows the end way ahead of time. Like He says, I am the Alpha and the Omega.
Right.
And when Jesus Christ was speaking, that was God Himself talking. And before Abraham, I was. Well, God is not only the movie's director, He's the movie itself. He is not only the ruler of heaven and earth, He is heaven and earth. He is Everything is made out of the body of God. So he is intricately connected to every single thing that exists. And no one would literally be alive without God being the life in them. You couldn't hear unless the angel of hearing had given you this capacity. You couldn't see unless the angel who covers all sight everywhere permitted that as well. And everything is like a precise clockwork with God. Now there is a certain latitude. Maybe people will wake up. And if they do, tragedy can be averted. So he does give them a very long rope. But after a certain point, if you read the occult history about Atlantis, about Lemuria, about other cultures, and you can only find this in occult history, it's not in the regular historical record, you find that in every case, their technology outstripped their moral composition. So they weren't able to handle, the one side of things because they weren't realized on the other side as human beings. And they got swept away in the storm of their own lack of awareness.
All right. No, I totally agree. I'm stuttering here. You're the first person that has said this to me, that God is both in, of, and outside his creation. Like everything is made of God's stuff. And that's the true idea of the, what the pagans thought about, they worship the trees because God is trees. Well, this is where that comes from. This is the reality of it, if we could say it a little bit better. And so that's why I have a great respect for all of these things. It's very good to hear you say that. I feel good. I don't know. There's a resonance that comes with what you're saying. You're right on the track of stuff. Now, as far as the people in California and all that, I'm reminded of Sodom and Gomorrah, where they said Lot went into, he was going to get out 200 people or whatever it was, and then it ended up he couldn't even get 10. But those 10 did get out. So I'm thinking that the people can avoid the destruction by, either turning back to ways of God, and and the way I look at it too is that even if you die in God, that's fine, because we're going to die anyway, and it's a good way to go in God.
Yes, this is true. Look, as far as I'm concerned, I was troubled for a long time because I thought, what if something happened? Oh, what about this and what about that? And then the other night, I was standing in my kitchen, and it came to me clear as a bell that God has everything under control. God is the most powerful force in the universe. Nothing can stand against it. I'm standing with God. So I have only one concern: to continue to stand with God. And if I do, I have not a single thing to be concerned about. Nothing. It's only my own uncertainty and the fear that is generated by that, which indicates a lack of faith in that which I should have faith in. And the whole point of my living is adjusting to the point where my faith has finally become so great that doubt and fear no longer enter in. And I had one of those moments the other night, and I went, oh my God, I have absolutely nothing to worry about at all. Everything is just the way it's supposed to be. And it was my imagining that things were going to work out in a certain way based on radically changed.
Yeah, it's the old adage is that attachment brings pain, and if we're attached to a certain outcome, and that certain outcome doesn't come, but when God supplies, as Jesus talked about the lilies of the field, and they grow and are beautiful, and Solomon in all his glory didn't have these things, but they don't, and it's like we've gotten into this existence that takes a lot of effort and material to keep that existence going. And so when you depend on technology and material, as we sit here talking and all this technology, and that's a lot of my trouble. Is I've been working on a lot of this stuff and finding buzz and hum, and it's been driving me crazy.
Yes, I get what you're saying. You know, it's really all just a movie. And the irony is that California is where they shoot all those movies. And we're all actors. We play a part. Now, my script has been given to me by the director, and I'm going to read the script given. I'm not going to get extemporaneous. I'm not going to just go off and decide that I know what I'm talking about, because the fact of the matter is, I don't. But as long as I don't know, God does. So God can inform me. But if I know, then God doesn't know, and I can't be informed. I must prefer the former.
I kind of also look like, and I don't know if this is the ego inside me talking, but it seems like that God would like us to within our own infrastructure, which would include the Spirit of God in us. He wants us to pick the right way, right things for our life. So it's not like he's a dictator telling you, hey, you're going to do this. It's like, I know this is the best for you. I know you inside and out before you existed. So trust me, when I say this is good for you, it's good for you, and you will benefit by it.
You are exactly correct. The thing is that people don't get is they think, oh, there's all these rules, or now I have to behave like this, and I have to do the right thing, and this and that, and I don't want to. I want to go out and get blasted and get laid and do all these other things because I'm young and full of a snort, and I just got to go and have my set of fun. God's got nothing against fun, but he wants you to have it under the proper aegis. And when God lays out a plan for you or has a program, that's not only the best way for you to go, it's the most enjoyable way, it's the most fulfilling way, it's the most everything way you can imagine. But we just don't know any better. And because of that, we think we do know better, and we wind up in error, as they say, in sin, which is missing the mark. And as soon as we miss the mark, consequences set in. And inevitably, we will come up against the circumstances of our own performances in regard to the mistakes we're making. Or we will come up upon the payback for all the righteousness we were engaged in. And really, life is all about us learning that one way we're going to get the living bejesus knocked out of us or into us, and the other way, we're going to be supported and waited upon by angels and have epiphanies and tremendous spiritual experiences. And I am talking from personal experience. This last 6 months for me has been, there's no words, remarkable beyond commentary. Miracles happen every day now. They were happening all the time, but I wasn't seeing them. I wasn't seeing them because I was seeing things my way. I don't have a way anymore.
Well, that's a good way to put it, because it seems like we have the most influence on our life in terms of good or bad by doing or not doing, by seeing or not seeing. We have more influence than the so-called bad guys out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it may not seem that way, but here's another thing. See, it's all in the way we define ourselves to ourselves. And in order to do that, we have to practice self-inquiry. I see myself as an ambassador to the human race. It is my job to go through my life and with everyone I meet, share the good news. That doesn't mean talking about the Bible or any of that. That means walking up to a cashier, seeing what she's been going through all day, and trying to reach in, sometimes quietly, sometimes by acting, into the heart of that person and let them know someone cares about them and is making them laugh, or any number of things that I tend to work with in the public. And just everywhere you go, you start to realize, you start to see that every single situation is an opportunity for you to express this incredible love that wants to flow out of us, but which we block through our own selfishness. And as soon as we forget ourselves and forget about being selfish, whoa, lo and behold. And man, people respond, I'll tell you. And everywhere you go, you see people are hungry, they're dying for it. They won't come up and say, oh, please, this or that, but you can feel it in them. So you tweak it a little bit, because God gives us a certain amount of love magic that then inspires our actions in such a way that we tend to just suddenly do the right thing without even knowing about it.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, to me, it's like the way to prove the gospel that lives within you is they see the joy that passes all understanding. So if you're being nice to somebody and helping them being nice and all, that makes more an impression than being grumpy because, hey, everyone out there is grumpy.
True. I mean, we're in such a good position to, it's like this New Age thing. In the New Age, what they preach that is different, and one of the reasons I'm not a New Age person, although they have some good ideas, is the New Age tries to teach you that you are God. Okay, in a certain respect, this is indirectly so, but you can't go around thinking that. If you do, you're going to get your butt kicked. The thing you have to do is allow God to move through you. And this is what we do. We block the light. Every human being is potentially a stained glass window, and the sun of God's love shines upon that window. And if our screen is clear, we're lit up like beautiful colors coming through a prism in the way we touch others. But if certain parts of ourselves are blocked or blacked out here and there, then that is impacting on the parts in the people we're contacting. And that's why we have to, like a workman worthy of his hire, show ourselves approved. We have to clean up our act.
Right, and you know what? I've been going through stuff myself, and I get in the way of myself, where I'm worried about financial situation. My job is really taking a downturn and all that, and I get lost inside that soup. And we have to be able to be in a position where we could turn around and have nothing and be happy, because in 1 second from now, your whole life can be different by something crossing paths with you, but you can't see that from your angle. So that's where the faith comes in.
Faith is the substance of things unseen. That's literally true.
Well, a lot of people are having faith in things that are seen, like, political parties, governments, technology, money, and all those things will perish. Don't put your love where it will, moths will eat it and rust will decay it and so on. I mean, stuff is becoming more, the stuff Jesus talked about is becoming more like obvious right in front of your eyes more and more every day. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. There aren't really words on my part to communicate with the intricacy that it demands to speak a symphony, as it were, about the marvels and wonders of the presence of the living God who dwells inside us. But when we contact that, and I have been fortunate enough to have that happen, we walk about in conversation with the ineffable. It speaks to us, sometimes directly in our minds, other times through other people, sometimes through the very actions of nature. But that conversation is going on all the time. And as we continue on this path, it gets better and more refined and lighter. And it's true, as you go up the mountain, the fiercer the winds blow. So you've got to be more wary. This is so. But as long as you have faith in the ineffable, God will not let you down. He wants you to succeed. If you succeed, you are living proof of this tremendous truth that is being blanketed off, covered over by all of the rest of these people who think they run this world.
And they do think that, and it's something that's really, you know what? I don't. It's hard to say. I want to see all these braggarts and blowhards, get knocked up beside their head. Now I don't know. Is that wrong to see the evil get? I know it says don't take any glory. Don't get any happiness in the
Germans. The Germans have a word for it called Schadenfreude. And that is taking delight in evil or misfortune coming upon those others, and that varies from person to person. But I can assure you of this. One of the things I am told by my inner voice is that all of these rascals are going, especially now, they're going to get caught out at their mischief and brought before the court of world opinion. That this is going to happen. It's happening right now. Epstein just got arrested in New York.
That was amazing.
Well, you just wait, watch and see, because Trump, I want to tell you, has got some hold cards that these people don't know about. And meanwhile, they think that they are going to get him. They're going to wind up being gotten, okay? He's a lot smarter than I thought he was in the beginning. I still don't care for some of his personal traits, but oh my God, do I prefer him to what the alternative would be. Oh my God.
I think, I look at it kind of the yin-yang, where you need a certain amount of worldly ego power to push through this stuff on one hand, and then you have to have this obedience to the spirit on the other. And I mean, what other president is becoming so godly on his words and how he deals with stuff? Look at the abortion stance and all that. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
It really is. He's on the right side of every issue as far as I am concerned. Is bombastic? Yes. He's sort of carried away with his own importance? Yes. But boy, is he on the right side of every argument. And here, the dysfunctional sexual people and all this tranny gender bending stuff and drag queen story hour, silently behind the scenes, he's doing all kinds of things. And oh my goodness, is he ever. And they're howling about it. But hey, and he's appointing these judges, okay? Oh man, he's appointing judge after judge. And now he's made the change on the Supreme Court. And suddenly the voting is going, oh yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people are they have a predetermined way they think their reality would be, and if you're not on their side, you're against them, and then they call you names. And I'm like, let's not call names. Let's bring up actual stuff. It doesn't happen. But I guess nothing new, really, in the whole over the history of the world, other than it's more maybe high-tech this time around.
Yeah. Did you happen to watch either of the Democratic debates?
I'll be honest with you, Les. I can't take the blatant, arrogant lying that I see, so I kind of avoid it. But there's people like Tucker and others who will pull out some pieces and make sure other people see it. But I can't take it.
It was really funny, though. They dug themselves holes they will never crawl out of. They were melting down right on national TV. It was horrifying. They kept trying to outdo each other with promises that were impossible, things they could never do. And the whole American public is sitting out there watching and going, I don't want those people in there. Meanwhile, Trump, he put together this 4th of July thing. You should have heard the speech he gave.
I did. I watched that. I watched the whole thing.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
It was good. I watched literally the whole thing, and of course the left was saying nobody showed up, but the place was packed.
It was packed, yeah.
They had 8 protesters who were outside, and it was nothing. It was really good. I was really impressed. It was nice. I mean, I'm not a patriotic guy, because I do see the dark side of the governments and all that, but I couldn't help when he starts evoking God and in righteousness. I can't help it. I gotta go along with that.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things they say about the U.S. is slavery and all that, but this is the part that, of course, I know it's all a toy. They're all doing this manipulated way, but at the time, everybody had slaves in the whole world. And the United States eventually, saw the maturity in that, and they had a war to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a growth. So it just shows that the things are growing in maturity along the way, and yet there's still slavery out in the world. And China's one big slavery thing. So
there's this link in my latest posting It's this woman, I think her name is Candace something or other.
Yeah,
She's
Owens.
yeah, oh yeah. Oh, well, she just had a talk with this fellow. He's a rapper, I think, of some kind. I don't know. He lives in England. You should have heard them. Oh my, this is an eye-opener. You got to see this interview. I couldn't believe it. I was watching this, I went, man, people are really waking up. They pointed out all the things that we talk about. And they were talking about the fallacy of the left and this and that, and they're totally solidly behind Trump, too.
Yeah, I got the link here. I'll make sure I pass it along in the bottom here. It's the Candace Owens show. Zuby, I guess the guy was?
Yeah, it's his name. It's amazing.
Yeah, PragerU's under a lot of problems from the left because of the stuff they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, I don't know, it just seems that the people who are so against what Trump stands for and all this is that there's no substance to it. I mean, I have a friend of mine, longtime friend. He's a nice guy. I've known him for many years. But he is so locked in to an anti-Trump thing. He's a nice guy, but he just still can't get over it. And no matter what happens, he goes along with what the left says. And it's kind of sad to see that, actually.
Yeah. Well, look, this is all going to get resolved. I have the absolute utmost faith in the invisible hierarchy. And they're going great guns as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't be more confident. I couldn't be more like faith-filled. I mean, I've had so much proven to me lately that I just know that now is the time. And if you will heed the call, if you will allow that which seeks to come forth in your heart and into your mind and allow yourself to be transformed, oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Yeah.
Now, you don't think that perhaps we're coming to the end of things, that this is the wind-up and, like destruction and the end of the world, or so to speak? Or is that something that's open? It's open if nobody ever turns around that it would, but now people are turning around so it won't? I mean, something like that, or what?
Well, to try to put it into perspective is probably impossible because it's only coming from a point of view. And you go around in a circle and you see how many point of views there are. But to me, it's all about the second coming of Christ. And the second coming of Christ is not someone appearing in the sky and coming down to earth. Although I'm not canceling that out. But what it is the second coming of Christ is going to be in the heart of humanity. Wherever a heart is open or susceptible to this, the Spirit of Christ is going to hearts. And some will hear, or some hearts will be hardened, and they will turn aside, and that will be unfortunate for them. But many, many, many are going to hear the call and awaken, and a golden age is waiting on the doorstep for those people who answer the call when they hear it within their own heart. And I believe that's what's going to be the result.
No, I see that. I do see the... I look at the way I describe the period we're in as a period of revealing, a period of choice, and a period of redemption. So a lot of people could be in the system and have a lot of bad, things piled up on them. But because of their stature or their power or their money, they could turn now 180 and cover a lot of sins, if you will, in their past and do a lot of good. So it's never too late for people to turn.
No, it's never too late until it's too late.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You keep cutting out intermittently through the whole broadcast, so I am only ever able to hear part of what you say. So sometimes my answers may be based upon only what I heard, but not the entirety.
Well, they've been pretty good. I think that you got the gist of it. And when I see it stop, I try to kind of backtrack a couple of seconds and do it. But again, we've had technical issues with having you before, but I'd rather deal with all of that to be able to have you on here, which I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. I'm always glad to come on. And really, if your listeners feel they like to hear from me, then that's all to the good, because you're a great moderator, you're a great interviewer, you're a great person to talk to. So you make it a comfortable circumstance for someone to speak in, and that's why I delight in being here under these circumstances. So.
Well, I appreciate that. We're also kind of coming from the same direction, because I'm not so pleasant. People don't look at me so pleasant when we're coming from problems, because I bring up intuitive, bring up questions and stuff that usually opens up down to the wound and the hiding and the bullshit, and it doesn't always work out good. But I over the years, I've been doing this since 2003, and over the years I've kind of just said, you know what, I'm not going to go out there after the bad guys per se, because who am I, But if it comes across my path, you see, that's what I've changed things in my life. If it comes across my path, I'll deal with it, but I'm not going to go out looking for it. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of the cardinal lessons that I have learned in recent times. I used to be a lot more argumentative, and I used to also bring up topics that I kind of knew the people I was talking to didn't want to hear about. So now what I do is I allow the Spirit to guide me in every situation. And I only go so far with each person to the extent that I think is good. Some people, I can say hello to them, and I'll try to say hello as pleasantly as I can. With some people, I might can engage in a commentary about the weather or something in the neighborhood or common interest as they may be. And with some people, I can go deeper and deeper. And I try to be attuned to what that is with whomever I am engaging.
Well, I could say for your work, you've taken it on the chin many times, actually literally on occasion, and you just keep bouncing back. So that's another plus for the spirit that burns within. I've come close to just saying I quit, not suicide, but I just quit fighting and stuff. But there's just something inside that calms me, and I get regenerated, and I just move on. So I don't know. I mean, well, go ahead.
Amen to that.
Oh, I mean, I know there's God. All right, I have personal experience in on it. I can't explain it like I can talk about the screwdriver. Right, I can't explain it in those terms, but I know it's real, and I've seen the experience, and I think that's what God intends. He wants people to find them really individually, as opposed to just simply follow a book of rules.
Life is boot camp. That's what we are. We're here for basic training, and some of us have matriculated positions and are presently employed in a particular area. Some of us are corporals, some are sergeants, some are generals. If you stay on that path, you're going to get promoted, because God always has work for willing hands, and there are not enough people doing this. And so if one wants to serve or be engaged in this sort of thing, every kind of help is going to come to them. And this I have found. I've had terrible things happen to me and inexplicable stuff. But most of the time, especially in recent times, I just go, okay, no, whatever. No anger, no resentment, no nothing. It's just, that was meant to happen, and now let's take it from here. And that's been a blessing, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I think if we let circumstance kind of decide, like rather than looking for something wrong, kind of just go along and trust that you'll know what you need to know when you need to know it, and you'll know what to do when you need to do it. And it sounds good, and I like it, and I believe it, and I try it, but I fall back too with this, and that's a lot of my trouble. But I know that God appreciates the person who gets back up again and goes forward, rather than someone who quits. So that's just what I do.
There's that great song that goes something like, and I get knocked down and I get right back up, and some British group does it. It's really hilarious. And, that's true. I'm so filled with the Spirit of the divine. I don't particularly like it here, but I don't mind, I have great companions, I have wonderful friends, and I am a wealthy man indeed in that regard. And I don't want for anything, and I'm able to spend my days creatively. I have a whole studio set up, recording, and all sorts of things. If I'm ever allowed to sing again.
Well, look at Dylan out there touring. People can't even hear him, understand him. He's still going, so.
Yeah.
But, if I can get into some of the, we'll call it traditional theological aspects of this time we're going into. Do you think we're literally going to have Antichrist and there's going to be a Armageddon and all that stuff, or are those more metaphorically? Oh, do you think that the things that have been traditionally taught for the latter days, Antichrist, Armageddon, and all that? You think that's literal, or is will something fit that, or do you think that that might have been a story with a principal purpose, but not necessarily literal?
No, I think it's absolutely literal, but I also think it only applies to the people it applies to. When Hiroshima got bombed, there were people who weren't even touched. No harm came to them. There had been terrible things, wars and pestilence, famine, different things. But a great number of people weren't involved at all. All I have to say is that if you associate yourself with the Almighty, I don't think you have to worry about that. But if you're out there with a reprobate spirit, if you're on Tinder all the time, and you're going from one house to another having anonymous sex, and you're spending your life ripping people off, or doing all manner of other things, or just being indolent and slothful, because the spirits that be, I don't care for that either, then you may find yourself in a group of individuals to whom a certain unfortunate and perhaps unpleasant lesson will apply. But then there are others, it's not going to happen. It isn't going to happen to them. And I tend to believe that there is no injustice. There may be the appearance of it, but there is no injustice anywhere.
Plus, I don't know if I'm just giving a little out here, but I think that if somebody gives of themselves to the detriment for the greater good, there's recompense that many times over. Pressed down, shaken over, and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So, you can't lose. Either you're getting your own stuff worked out, or you're helping out God, and He's going to give you a high five. So, you really can't lose either way.
That's right. I am not concerned at whatever the cost may be, because the privilege, the utter unbelievable privilege of being able to serve humanity and to serve the Creator of all, it doesn't get better than that. There is nothing better than that. And I know that those who share this circumstance know exactly what I'm talking about.
It does take, I used to like going to church for the spiritual side of it, singing hymns and whatever, and I haven't done it in a while. I think I might start looking for it, because I like that type of thing. But then I hear the preacher preach, and then I start getting inside to get an argument with what he's saying, and it ends up becoming trouble when I start getting into the theology of what they're teaching. But the getting together and singing and hanging out is pretty nice. And I think, what we're doing right now is, to me, I'm feeling this from you. I'm getting like a charge when two are gathered in His name, and so on. So I appreciate how it comes off on you, from you onto me, so I appreciate that.
Well, it has to be a living gospel, okay? The gospel itself has to be alive in the moment where it is being shared. Dry tradition, dogma, can't. redundancy and repetition of things makes them tired and empty and not life-filled. So when the vitality of the spirit is engaged in what's being exchanged, oh, it's a whole other ballgame. But when they're like in these churches, or they're hammering about this or that, or the person just isn't articulate, or there are any number of other things, well, of course, there's going to be no satisfaction there. There's no nutrition in the food. You want it to be vital. You want to feel that that spirit is being exchanged. And it's there, but one has to risk, exposure of their personal self and the celebration of it. And of course, it always works out fine. But those in fear are held back. So.
What kind of things that happen that you like to do? I mean, what are things that give you joy? I mean, other than some of the things you mentioned about, you like to do music, record, and all that. I mean, what do you look forward to do while you still have skin on?
Meditating, taking walks in nature, reflecting. I do a lot of reflection, thinking. I really enjoy watching films. If I'm going to, a lot of films I won't watch. But I love conversation with people I care about. I tend generally to enjoy every single minute of my life these days, no matter what I'm doing. If I'm washing the dishes, I'm having a ball. I'm not kidding. Everything I do is fun for me now. So it's hard really to pick any specific thing because, they all give me joy. I love to read books, writers that I appreciate. Right now I'm watching videos with Kriyananda, who is a disciple. He just passed some while ago. He's a disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda. And he has many videos on YouTube. And I really enjoyed watching those. And I read the works of the masters, and that's really been incredible for me. And, geez, I don't know. I just saw a film I want to tell you about. It's in that post called The Pilgrim's Progress. Oh, my God. Someone made a movie about it.
I know it.
Oh, my God. And I tried to read the book several times, couldn't. It was too dense. But, oh, my goodness, this film they made. Well, you'll see it. You'll see it. You can download it or whatever. I mentioned it in the post. What a job they did. And you could just imagine children watching it. And I thought, God, the way that comes up against these drag queen story hours, talk about malicious events. What they're doing in the library system? Oh!
Les, I just don't get it. I mean, when I first got my big wake up to this current stuff, is I wasn't really paying attention. I'm hearing a news story, and then Obama signed a executive order mandating that trans men to women, or even if they just feel like they're women, whatever that, they have to go to the women's bathroom. And I remember this. I'm like, what? What did I say? Are you kidding? That was that first one that was just absolutely crazy. The other stuff wasn't great, but that was the one like, huh? And so I don't know. And now it's just now they're passing a law mandating that trans men to women can play in women's sport. Of course, they're beating the women's sport, and then the feminists go along with this. That's crazy.
This interview, the one Candace Owens,
right?
The fellow on it, obviously a man, went and said, "I identify as a woman," and then he broke all the weightlifting records for women. Not an actual event, but he did it. And people were furious, And they're saying, what? I said, I identify as it. That's what I am. Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, what he did. Well, you see this interview. This is a trip. And, people are coming back at it now, okay? Yeah, what do they think they're doing? Competing in women's sports.
And I don't get it. The feminists don't go along with it. Well, actually, I say a lot of the older feminists, from back in the day don't go along with it because they were more, more real feminists, we'll say. And but the current people on the stage, they are going along with this. And it should be obvious to some, even people who are dense, what's going on. And if they still agree, then to me that's conformed consent. If they go along with this, at some point you can't play dumb. You have it's too obvious, and you're going to have to make a stand.
It's all Satan. I don't know if you've seen the person, I don't know what to call this person, who does Teen Vogue. Do you know Teen Vogue?
No.
They're the ones that do things about, they give primers on anal sex for teenagers and all manner of things, the darkest stuff you can imagine. Go to Teen Vogue and look for the person that heads it. It's a guy, obviously a guy, talks like a guy and everything else, but has breasts. Very young person, has breasts, and nothing feminine about his movements or gestures whatsoever. And he's in charge of the material. And there's all these places like Huffington Post, Slate, and various leftist news organizations that are just up to the worst kind of stuff, promoting certain things that and you look at it as ludicrous. I mean, no normal person would countenance these sorts of things. Then they're finding a lot of these people in the drag queen story hour have been arrested for pedophilia more than once in some cases, that are actual practicing pedophiles who are going out and they show pictures of these drag queens laying on the floor with young kids laying on top of them, and they're hugging them.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, it's a travesty, man. And you've got militant people showing up and screaming at these events. But now this woman Johnson, Ellen Johnson or something, Katherine Johnson, she's an outraged parent. So she put together this whole thing where they show up in the different libraries and protested. There's a bunch of stuff on YouTube about these confrontations.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. But I'm a hater,
Yeah, it's funny how you don't agree. It means you hate. I made a post where I did some work because I live in Chicago.
Right.
Back in the day, when the neo-Nazis were marching in the 70s, late 70s, early 70s. They were marched on Skokie, and there was a big hoopla about it. I was near where their headquarters was. I went to one of the rallies just to check them out, and there they are with the brown shirts, the whole 9 yards, the whole deal. And they had a right. Supreme Court said they have a right to their ability to march and have their opinion, no matter how bad it is. In fact, the First Amendment is best shows it's unpopular speech, right? So I mean, the real neo-Nazis, the ones who make no apologies for being white supremacists, they do the whole deal with Hitler, the High Hitler, and all that. Those guys were allowed to speak and be protected by the police. But now you come out and talk about whether you want to talk about Trump or if you want to talk about pro-life or whatever. Now the Antifa goes and beats people up, and it's allowed to happen. Well, times are it's starting to change. They're starting to get arrested because it's so obvious and blatant now that they just can't let it happen. Citizen journalists are showing it on videos, but it just it's obvious that we have the right to speak without getting beat on.
Absolutely. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Hang on. There we go.
I don't have it with me. I have it in the other house, but I did a Trump hat that I had, and I put the little voted sticker on. It was kind of cool. I went into the store after we voted. The next day after Trump won, right? I went to the store, and as I was walking down the aisle, I had my Trump hat on with the voted sticker, and an old guy who was walking with a cane and some, I think he might have had oxygen, but it was old guy was walking with a cane. He had a veteran hat on, right? He comes up to me, and he sees my hat. He looks at me, he smiles, and he gives me like a fist bump. He goes, "We did it," Now, when do you think that last time that guy got excited about these kind of things? I mean, that's where we went very deep to pull out the people to go, that's it, wait a minute. No. I made a stand in World War II against this kind of crap. I can't fight it now, but I could sure vote. And that's what happened.
Yeah, well, there's There's all kinds of deranged things going on right now. Did you hear about these? I think they were from Senegal or somewhere, or Somalia. They suddenly appeared at the Mexican border, lots of them.
Yeah.
And they walked right across the border. They had rolls of $100 bills on them. And then they got in vehicles and drove away. Somebody drove them right across the border into San Antonio or El Paso. And off they went.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how they show these people who are traveling. And if they're coming from the bottom of Mexico, it's about 1,000 miles, I believe. Right. So these people have walked, quote unquote, 1,000 miles, and they're showing up at the border. They're in clean clothes with a backpack. They're all, clean, spoofed up. They're in gym shoes, and if anybody's ever done hiking, gym shoes are not what you should hike in, And it's Mexican is not exactly walking through a park going through Mexico. Right. So and then when I have people who are living down there who report to me with the show. They have pictures of, like you mentioned, these Somali guys coming in and all that. They're hanging out in a Mexican town. He went down into the Mexican town, took some video. They're hanging out. They're well dressed. They got money to spend. They're in hotels.
Yep.
And so how did they walk through Mexico? What did they walk over from Africa? Asia, Eurasia? I mean, it's obvious that there's something going on here.
It's George Soros in the main, and he's financing this. And he hates America. I don't know if you saw the one post I had where he directly said that he intends to destroy the United States of America. And this is what's going on. And I think that part of what he's doing now is they're finding people with these infectious diseases and sending them across the border and sending them to different cities to create plagues and outbreaks. I don't know, it's a very strong sensation I've got. And now they just caught a bunch of Democratic individuals who work for certain campaigns down in Mexico, schooling the various migrants who want to get across on the things they have to say and do about how to cross the border. One of them is to pretend they don't speak Spanish. So the ones who got rejected are going back now and not being able to speak Spanish because apparently that allows them to stay.
Yeah, I'm looking at this article. You're not seeing it now because I don't have the cam on, but Somali smugglers brought at least 50 migrants into Texas and California. And they got a picture of the little route that they use coming in at Brazil and then working their way up.
Yeah, there's a war on, man, and it's very serious.
No, one thing, I look at Trump, he's being pretty smart, right? I mean, he's way over my head, right? But what I don't understand is he has the legal right, I looked up the statutes and put it in black and white. He can take and put the troops on the border to fight people coming in. I mean, they could do it. He could put them all on the border. And he's not, and I don't understand that.
That puzzles me too.
The only thing I hope is that there's a better subtle plan that's being done. Maybe he's doing all of this so that he ensures the election, and hopefully more Republicans get elected, and then he can do more stuff. I don't know. It's greater minds than mine. I mean, I know I could never get elected. I mean, first off, so. And when people criticize Trump, I tell them, I go, well, what would you do? And they say, well, what I would do, I go, hold on. How would you get elected first? Then you could do what you do. Because if you don't get elected, it don't matter what you were going to do. And so you needed Trump with his money and his, Ron Paul was a guy I liked. When Ron Paul was in the primaries, they pushed him off the stage and laughed at him, right? Well, Trump comes in there and he pushed them off the stage. And that's where you need that force to go through the stuff. He's withstanding these people are canceling him every day, and he just takes it like nothing. He gets up in the morning and smiles. I don't know. It's just amazing.
He is really a trip, and I cannot figure him out. But as I say, I no longer concern myself with what Trump does, what Soros does, what any of these people do. I concern myself only with what I do.
Yeah.
What I
Well said.
say, and what I am.
Well
and
said.
I try to set an example, and if by my example I have a positive impact on people, well then that's how it should be. Because I made a lot of mistakes in my life, and there are times I went completely off the rails, and I like to party, and I was just had too much life, too much exuberance, and it didn't always sit well with other people. But I have apparently gotten my yah-yahs out, so I am now, I'm a reformed whore.
Les, on a kind of a sad note, being a dog poet and all, I know you love dogs. My long dog of 15 years, he had him. He had to put him away, put him down.
Oh yeah.
And it was very heartbreaking. And it's the first dog that I've had, like from birth to death, as an adult. I've had other ones we picked up, but it was tough. And I don't know. It never really. I mean, I've had relatives pass away that hadn't hit me like this, and I don't know. I don't. I mean, what do you think about animals having some type of soul in terms of being like still not absorbed into the matrix, so to speak, but actually having a personal existence?
Absolutely. I think that there are variations on the theme. I think certain dogs are unique and remarkable, and some are just the rest of the pack. Just the same as with human beings. And the reason you miss the dog so much is the dog's love was unqualified. That was the difference. The dog loved you unconditionally. We can't get that all that often from people. And to my mind, the best solution to honor your dog, get another one.
We do have one. He was not doing well, and so I thought it would be best to get another dog to help through it. And then the doctor helped him. He had a huge prostate, but he was able to fix him, and the testosterone level dropped. And he lived for 2 more years, so that was nice. So they actually lived together. But the one thing I liked about the dog too is that he would tell me he wasn't like this. You're the greatest thing in the world, and I'm going to do everything you say. He'd let me know, like, hey, I don't like that. What are you doing? And I liked having that pushback. The current dog we have is it was a Jack Russell Poodle. Our current dog is a Jack Russell Rat Terrier, and it does similar. It's not as deep, though. I could tell, of course, she's only 2 years old, but she's only 2 years old. Not as deep in the, when you look at you, there's a focus. So when she's looking at you, I mean, it's like she's looking at you with such a focus, but it didn't have the depth that Charlie had. So I don't know.
Keep your eyes open. Nature abhors a vacuum, and you may well come upon a new companion.
I did have a vision. We've had a couple of little animals. When they passed on, I was struck by a momentarily vision, which was very surprising to me because I don't get visions really, And I realized it was to let Lucinda know, because she took care of the guinea pigs and so forth, that they were okay. And there actually was a message from one of the guinea pigs. Thanks you for giving me a good life, because they had it made. They had salads and And I did get a quick little vision from Charlie, and he was kind of dancing. I don't know. But anyway, I don't mean to bring this down here, but I mean, you know about dogs, so.
Oh yeah. God bless them, man. I don't have one now, and I haven't had one for a while, but I think when I move to Sedona, which is what we're trying to do, that it's at that point I will get another dog. I can't hear you. We went off again, I think. And
can you hear me now? Yeah.
Now,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just the something you said when you were talking over the years was, man is searching for his God, but a dog has found his.
Yeah, right.
I really remembered that.
Yes, that is the truth.
And it was difficult because I had to choose to basically to kill him. I mean, to put him to sleep for his own, because he couldn't see, he's bumping into walls, and he didn't understand. It was tough.
Yeah. Well, you did the right thing, and I wouldn't think two ways about it. Sometimes you're faced with that choice, and that's how it goes. The reason I love and admire dogs so much honor, courage, and the like that a dog possesses. I'll tell you, man, they're an inspiration to me with that. And I look to them as a model to what I aspire to.
Yeah. This current dog we have, again, it's pretty small, but it's raw muscle. And if somebody comes to that door, it's like just the hair stands up on her hair. I mean, she is like, you have no right to be here, And it's pretty amazing.
I know Jack Russells. I'm a big admirer of the breed. So. And
it's like, and the mail guy's a nice guy, and he knows this stuff, but he comes up to the door and hands the mail in, and he's like real careful because he's a maniac. Anyway, this is a nice conversation. Anything you want to say? I mean, I'm kind of just talking
here.
Can't
hear you again.
I said, is there anything you want to say? I mean, we're kind of just talking here. Is there something on your heart? There's some kind of something you want to say here before we call it a night?
Just that people should know, everyone should know, if you don't give up, you cannot fail. Whatever life puts you through, whatever difficulties that may even seem insurmountable at times, just head right on into the teeth of the wind, because the angels of God are right there behind you. They got your back. And if you keep on going, and you keep on going, if you don't give up, you cannot fail. And I got nothing to add to that.
If I can poke a little bit, when you say you cannot fail, what is your definition of failing?
To reach the promised land, to complete your mission.
So you could fail. Oh, you're. Let's wait till he comes back.
That's awareness. That's liberation, which comes in the unification of you with your own higher self. You will achieve. And if you fail seemingly in the one lifetime, you'll start right out, possibly right after, once again be directly engaged in it again. So, and that drive will stay with you. You will continue to have it.
So you could fail in a temporal material something. You plan a project and you could work hard on it. You could fail, and that's not failing in terms of where you're putting it, then, right?
No, that's irrelevant. That's just one more situation you were in where you were supposed to learn something. I mean, temporal success, that it comes and goes. Some people have a lot of it. Some people don't have much of it. But success as a human being, I mean, there are people who have got tons of temporal success, and they are not very nice people at all. They failed as a human being. And there are people that don't have much at all, but oh, what a human being they are. That's what you aspire to.
Yeah, I agree. To me, people have talked about me with this show. I've done it for 17 years, and I'm still doing it. Well, I'm in my garage studio instead of, the basement. But, I said, if you think about what the definition of success is, I can talk to anybody at any time about anything. No one tells me what to do. I have the technical ability and stuff around me to get it done. I mean, that's, people who make a lot of money at doing what they're doing that can't say they can do that. They got to take orders. Okay, we're back. Yeah, we're back now. They got to take orders. So I could see that in the sense of the success of what I'm doing is that I've reached a point where I, can basically do what I want. Now, I'd like to have certain maybe guests that I can't reach because I'm not big enough. And okay, fine. But, there are people who will come, they'll come at the right time with the right things. I used to work about programming weeks ahead of time, and I do all this stuff. And I just had this idea of like just going, I leave it open. And people just kind of fall into place. So, that's the kind of stuff I like.
That's how it should be. I don't know, have you ever had Robert Phoenix on your show?
It rings a bell.
Okay, he's a good guy to have on. You should contact him. He's an astrologer, a very well-known one. You can find him on the internet.
No, that's maybe where I remember that. It rings a bell.
Yeah, Robert Phoenix. You should have him on. He's very articulate, knows what he's talking about. Generally, a really nice guy.
I might have already had him on because I've been doing this for a long time. I forget,
And he also has a radio show. So.
Okay, I will put that down. I will drop your name when I talk to him.
Do.
So, all right. Well, I appreciate talking with you. It's great to hear from you again. I'm happy to see your writing a lot. There was a time it was kind of quiet out there, and then you come back, and I tell you, when I start reading your stuff, it's like not only are you back in the game, you are right, going right there, So it's good. It's good to have you back, and just even better, if you can imagine that. I appreciate the time. Oh, we're cut here. Let's wait a second. Oh, we're back. There we go. So I appreciate what you're doing. Keep on keeping on. Hey, one of these days I want to meet you in person, for crying out loud.
Well, I'm a lot closer than I was, so.
I don't even know where you're at, if you could say. I don't even know where you're at.
I'm in the Southwest.
Okay, that's right. I thought. Okay.
You can email me, but.
Yeah, well, I'll put that out there. You hear that? So, all right, Les, you take care. God bless. And thanks again.
God bless.
All right. Hitting the end button.
Okay.
Well,